You too. Hey, listen. How about this? Don't ignore the minor prophets. A lot of people just go straight into Daniel. They go into Revelation, and they think they can get a whole picture. Or they read somebody else's interpretation. And I will say, like, this is just my interpretation. There's, I can't say I haven't read part of this somewhere, or it didn't come to me by somebody else, but a lot of times I'll read something, especially if I go to the minor prophets, that will stick out. How do I put it? It'll stick out according to something else that I've already learned. Okay. Don't get me wrong, study it all, but we all know what Russia's doing right now, and in a lot of things, most of the people in Ukraine aren't really upset about this. They were mostly Russians anyway. They switched over to their, NWO German banking system, the mark system, which I'm gonna tell you right now, if the Rothschilds can get their hands on it, they will. But let me point this out. This is a possibility for me. To me, prophecy goes on the Bible's in a loop. Okay, it's big circles to little circles, and everything comes again, and it keeps rolling around. But here's the thing: prophecy on a large scale talks about governments. It talks about nations. But when it speaks of individuals, it can be talking about both. In fact, if I wasn't like winging this right now, I give you several examples that I just can't come off the top of my head right now. But let me get this said. There's in Revelation it talks about the beast receiving a deadly wound. Okay, and the whole world marveled because in 3 days the deadly wound was healed. And then it says that the false prophet called all. Sorry, battery's running dead. Caused all to get a mark on their forehead, or caused all to worship the image of the beast. Now, that's a whole other thing about the image of the beast and why, but it could be that he has a, messed up face from a head wound. And we'll talk about that later. But here's the thing. The prophet Zechariah has an obscure verse that's talking about the worthless shepherd. Now, it's talking about the Antichrist, the individual Antichrist. A lot of people will say the deadly wound that was healed was the papacy, the Catholic Church that was captured, and actually the wound was healed in 1919 when the Pope became worth something again. Now the Pope is in America, and we got Catholic churches here, and it's all over the world. That's possible. I don't believe Catholicism is bad in a whole. The papacy is a antichrist position. I'll explain that some other time. And that's possible. But also on a minor scale, if we're talking about an individual, which I know we're going to have to be eventually, he receives a deadly wound to his forehead. And in Zechariah it says, your right eye, let me see how it's put. It's like in Zechariah it says, your right eye will be closed and your arm will be completely withered. That's why I believe that the mark that you take will be on your forehead and your right hand, or whatever hand it's on. It'll be on your forehead and your right hand. I believe that it identifies you with the one you are supposed to worship, who was shot or wound to the head. I'm sure it's a bullet. That's just me assuming. He's injured in the head, and his arm becomes withered. Well, if you get a shot to the head on this side, then the other side's going to be withered sometimes, like having a stroke. And that's why I believe you receive the mark, whether on the forehand. That could be a translation. It might mean the palm. But on the forehead, I believe it identifies you with the wound you received and was healed. And don't worry about this Russian stuff, because we all know that Gog and Magog in Ezekiel 38 is coming to Israel. It's with Turkey. Possibly even China with the Magog reference. I'll talk about that some other day. Um, Ethiopia, which probably just means conscripts. I don't think it's talking about the actual country. I'll talk about that someday too. Um, and also Libya and Persia, Iran, and we already know they're in linked together now. They're allies now. So just watch the news, keep your eyes open, and this is Jay out.